Hello friends, Jim here, Science Talk. I'm going to be talking to you about the trend of global temperatures. Climate scientists, meteorologists, okay, even those deniers, they can actually look at this if they're being objective about it, and that the next 5 years will be warm. Let's go measure it and verify. And they've helped complete the hottest decade ever. Temperatures will, on a global average, be at least 1 degree C higher, that's a conservative estimate, than the average temperature of the planet 200 years ago, before fossil fuel use and burning really took off. And that's because the planet's already midway through what may well prove to be its warmest 10 years, since records began on a planetary scale in 1850. There's even a possibility that within the next 5 years, the global temperature rise could tip 1.5 degrees C above the long-term average for human history. Let's think about that for a moment. They're trying to say, according to the Paris Accord, they're saying, let's keep it below 1.5 ideally, but definitely below 2. And now they're saying within the next 5 years, it could probably go above 1.5. Well, next 5 years puts us to 2024. There's still 6 more years to 2030. When they were saying, oh, we need to keep the 1.5, from reaching 1.5 by 2030. Well, we might just reach that a lot sooner. I've seen the 1 degree C is a conservative estimate. I'm seeing reports of 1.3. So clearly we're going to blow past the 1.5 if current trends and uses continue. Forecasters can make such predictions with confidence, meaning low error, because tomorrow's temperature chart is already, in the air that we breathe. The pattern of warming over the last century is consistent with the steady rise in greenhouse gas levels in the atmosphere and still increasing because of still burning fossil fuels. And also, remember that with isotopic fractionation, we can determine the source of every CO2 molecule, whether it's an anthropogenic source or biological. Adam Scaife, who heads a long-term prediction research at the UK Met Office, said 2015 was the first year that global annual average surface temperatures reached 1 degree C above pre-industrial levels, and the following 3 years have all remained close to this level. He continues to state, the global average temperature between now and 2023 is predicted to remain high, potentially making the decade from 2014 the warmest in more than 150 years of records. All right. So, remember, climate is a long-term average of what the weather is doing. Climate is what you can reasonably count on. Weather is what you get at that moment. Okay. So this forecast is significant because it is evidence of increasing confidence in the understanding of the mechanism of global warming and climate change science itself. Climate researchers began warning at least 40 years ago of the potentially calamitous consequences of climate change. They were at the time unwilling to link any single weather event, flood, drought, hurricane, heat wave, any such events, to long-term global warming as a consequence of the steady increase in the CO2 in the atmosphere. But now, as we understand the science better, as we become more confident in our models and basically the verification of our models, we're basically able to state, yeah, this is what's going to happen, and be quite reasonably certain in that. So, excuse me, in 2013, one group of geographers in Hawaii even predicted the possible onset of catastrophic climate change in some regions of the globe as early as 2020. And we are starting to see some of that. Yes, it's 2019, but we're starting to see certain events that are basically the result of more energy in the system due to warmer atmosphere, warmer oceans. The Met Office prediction is accompanied by a danger that for a short while at least, the global increase could reach or exceed the level that 195 nations in Paris agreed to, the Paris Accord. A run of temperatures of 1 degree C or above would increase the risk of a temporary excursion above the threshold of 1.5 C above pre-industrial levels, said Doug Smith, a researcher at the Met Office. Predictions now suggest around a 10% chance of at least 1 year between 2019 and 2023 temporarily exceeding 1.5 degrees C. Basically, translate that is temperature rises are going to continue. That's basically what he's saying. We're going to probably spike above 1.5, maybe settle below 1.5, but we're getting to the point of the 1 degree increase is going to go up and up and up, and probably by 2030 it will stay at 1.5 or higher. Global temperatures in 2018 were around 0.91 degrees C above the long-term average. That would make 2018 the fourth warmest year ever. I've already mentioned that. And, as I've already mentioned, oceanographers already said the warmest oceanic temperatures were in 2018. 70% of the planet is covered by oceans. Again, think about the specific heat. Think how much energy the oceans have absorbed. And how many billions of tons of CO2 that equates to. There's your real problem. You have hotter, warmer waters. What do hurricanes, cyclones, typhoons, whatever you want to call them, what do they feed on? Warm water. The energy from warm water. We know what that means. We're going to start seeing some nastier storms. The three warmest years on record are 2015, 2016, 2017. Four warmest years are 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018. See a trend? Climate scientists have consistently warned that the average global increase is at almost an imperceptible pace and is a trend rather than a year-on-year rise. This made it possible for some to argue about the interpretation of the data to even claim that global warming had paused. Bollocks! Okay. I've done some videos where studies from different independent research teams have basically stated there was no global warming pause. There was no pause. It was a matter of interpreting the data, but they needed to go back and look at the data as it is. Within a slow increase in average temperatures, there's been a pattern of increasing extremes of rainfall and temperature, and the threat of increasingly frequent and potentially lethal heat waves to come. Researchers warned recently the changes seem inexorable by multiplying in number to more than 7 billion 2 centuries, by clearing forests, and by burning fossil fuels. Humans have managed to reverse a long-term climate trend and make the future uncomfortably hot. Reverse a long-term climate trend, i.e., the planet has been entering a cooling phase, the Milankovitch cycles. But we totally flip that around. So where Milankovitch predicts the Earth should be cooling down, we're warming up. So you could say that the Milankovitch cycles could help ameliorate any warming. And I think that might have been part of the reason, though subconsciously, for those research teams and researchers who stated that, there was a pause. Might have been some manifestations of the Milankovitch cycle, and other teams have been able to tease out those signals and say, oh yeah, things keep warming. So imagine if Milankovitch stated that we'll be entering a warming trend and we're doing what we're doing. We'd be in deep shit. We'd be blunt. A third UK researcher, Tim Osborne of the University of East Anglia Climatic Research Unit, stated as such: the warmth of 2018 is in line with the long-term warming trend driven by world emission of greenhouse gases. Blunt, no jargony talk, blunt, to the point, and a excellent, concise summation. So basically, human activity continues to warm the planet. There you have it. So all the talk of pauses and, no, there was no pause. Studies have shown this. Independent studies from different research institutes. There was no pause. The planet continues to heat up and heat up. Milankovitch notwithstanding. Thank you for your time. Hey friends, this is Jim reminding you to subscribe and share my videos. Also, don't forget to click the bell so that you know when I drop a video in. And I'm also asking for you to please support the work that I do by becoming a patron at patreon.com. Details in the description box below. Thank you for your continued support.